So, hello everyone. Now we are back with the third talk of today, the final talk of this ECS webinar. Today, we also have a day tomorrow. But this talk will be by Dr. Ruth Esteban. She is employed at the Madeira Whale Museum on the island of Madeira. She has studied the abundance, life history, and social structure of killer whales in the Strait of Gibraltar, which is dividing the North Atlantic from the Mediterranean Sea. She's part of a scientific group trying to understand the apparent aggressive behavior, the recent aggressive behavior by killer whales in the area. So Ruth's talk today will be titled Killer Whales of the Strait of Gibraltar and Endangered Subpopulations Showing a Disruptive Behavior. So please, Ruth, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jonah. And well, I'm gonna stop sharing my video because there could be problems. So good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for assisting to this virtual presentation. And also, I would like to thank the committee for inviting me to talk about this hot topic. First, I want to introduce you a little bit about the previous knowledge that we have about the killer whales in the Strait of Gibraltar. In the Northeast Atlantic, three populations of killer whales have been described. And the killer whales are assigned to the same population as killer whales in the Canary Island. Further studies define them as two subpopulations because there was no interaction between the identified individuals. It was suggested that there could have been a recent population split due to the low differentiation in combination with a small gene flow and no bottleneck signal. Differences in their organochlorines and stable isotope rate were also found, suggesting that they are in different habitats. So from now on, from this presentation, we are going to talk about this subpopulation of killer whales of the Strait of Gibraltar only. So from stable isotope rate analysis, we know that their main prey is the Atlantic bluefin tuna. And there was one particular pod that they could be feeding also in the other type of fish species. The distribution of this subpopulation was described not only within the Strait of Gibraltar. Instead, the study was spread to the whole southern Iberian Peninsula with the collaboration of several organizations and whale-watching companies that you can see here. And we did a present pseudo as a most important area for the killer whales was the western part of the Strait of Gibraltar. In this area, during springtime, killer whales are seen chasing the tuna for around half an hour at high speed until the tuna get tired and the killer whales are able to capture them. This was described as the endurance exhaustion technique, a hunting technique with a high expenditure of energy for the killer whales. If the killer whales try to follow the tunas in deep waters, tunas can escape going to deeper waters. And as the killer whales are not the deep divers, they are not able to follow them. In the other hand, in shallow waters, if the killer whales are able to follow them for up to 30 minutes until the tuna get tired and they are able to capture them. Also, we should consider that the Strait of Gibraltar will act as a bottleneck in the migration of the bluefin tuna to the Mediterranean during springtime, which in conjunction with the wider continental shelf in the western part of the strait made this area a suitable place to capture tuna by this hunting technique. In the other hand, during summer season, the model restricted their presence to the central waters of the Strait of Gibraltar. It is in summer season when we observe the killer whales most of the time interacting with a longline fishery. Sorry, in the central waters of the Strait of Gibraltar, where the killer whales capture the tuna from the longline of the fishermen. And in this case, the fishery will make this tuna that normally cross the strait in deep waters more accessible to the killer whales, being in this case a hunting technique with a low expenditure of energy. To describe their social structure, only data from the Strait of Gibraltar was used. In this case, for their social structure, the analysis was based obtaining their hull weight association index, and the demographic parameters were measured through market capture models. The direct census of killer whales determined that 39 individuals were still alive in 2011. That is when we finished that study. And this small population was divided in 5 identifiable pods. All of these pods has been observed in spring hunting tunas actively by chasing them for 30 minutes. But only 3 of them has also been observed during summer. And moreover, only 2 of them have been observed interacting with the long-life fishery. Consequently, we have 14 fishery interacting individuals and 14 individuals that have not been seen in interaction with the fishery at least until 2011. There was also differences in their demographic parameters, as the adult survival rate was higher for fishery interacting individuals. Their population growth rate was also higher and positive at a rate of 4%, and the birth rate was also higher for those fishery interacting individuals. All this information was compiled to propose management and conservation measures, which were included in the conservation plan of these killer whales of the Strait and the Gulf of Cadiz, which was approved in 2017 by the government of Spain. However, since then, there has not been a proper monitoring of the subpopulation or an actual implementation of the conservation plan. Furthermore, in 2019, the subpopulation was categorized as critically endangered by the IUCN Red List of threatened species. So this is all that we knew until now about this declared endangered subpopulation of killer whales. It is a really small subpopulation, which is highly dependent of another endangered population, which is the Atlantic bluefin tuna, and that has been interacting with the fishing vessel. And so they are more than used to be surrounded by vessels, sometimes hundreds of vessels at the same time. However, they were only getting in contact with the lines of the fishery boats, never, as far as we knew, touching the vessels. Then 2020 arrived, a year of changes, in many ways for humans, but also for this subpopulation. After the almost worldwide lockdown, disruptive behavior was observed, in which these killer whales were reported interacting with boats, actively entering in contact with the boats, particularly with the sailing boats, resulting mainly in breaking the moving parts of their rudders. In the middle of all this craziness, we created a working group formed by the different NGOs, institutions, whale-watching companies, and administration as a result of previously existing collaboration and the willing to give and respond to an unprecedented situation. By the way, for those that doesn't know this, this is where I am, and this is where we are presenting at the moment. Also, other entities that, even though they were not actually implied in the group, they were share photos, videos, or provide information and support to put us in contact with the interactive boats, or even assisting in checking the boats after they have been interacted. So this has been an incredible effort coming from the free time and unpaid effort of a lot of people, not only me, but the one that is presenting now. So mainly our effort were focusing, contacted and asked for information about sightings and interactions with killer whales all around the Iberian Peninsula, and also contacting with different experts all around the world to give us feedback of previous similar cases of this type of behavior. Whenever it was possible, we inspected the boat, diving in the harbor or going to the shipyards, taking pictures and videos and measuring any sign of killer whales interactions. We also contacted and coordinate the action plan in case of an interaction with Coast Guard's radio ship reporting system and different administration. And this is a work in progress at the moment. And I'm going to show you some videos of the samples of sun interaction so you can better understand what is happening. First, I'm going to show you one of the first interactions that happened in the Strait of Gibraltar. As you can see here, the pilot was trying to control the wheel until he got his shoulder damaged and let the wheel loose. The animals took control of the rudder and turned the boat almost 360 degrees. The animals are normally at the stern of the boat, really close to the hull. So we know with apparently some excitement, as you see there, and sometimes they show up with this intense bubbling. And in this case, the boat was lucky and nothing happened to them, and the skipper recovered well soon after. In this other case, you can see that the animals are kind of calm, but they were already bumping the rudder pretty hard. And this is why it is important to leave your wheel loose. In this case, they broke the rudder in half, as you can see in these pictures. And here we have the animals pretty calm. The boat was not going at really high speed, so they were there observing the rudder, checking it, really calm, but they were still, they were already bumping the rudder. And here the crew accelerated. The animals still followed them at high speed. And the animals got excited and bumped the rudder even harder. You're gonna hear it now. There. In this case, the animals broke the steering gear. This other case was one of the harder. It occurred completely during night. The animals were for an hour with the boat and almost constantly bumping the boat really actively. So you can understand the distress of the crew. The animals broke the rudder, bending the rudder shaft in an angle of almost 90 degrees, as you can see in that picture. And in this case, the reparation cost almost 21,000 euros, which was not fully covered by the insurance because it was provoked by a natural cause. And in this case, we got another perspective as there was another boat assisting the one that was being interrupted by the killer whales. And here the boat was already switched off the engine, but the animals didn't left immediately and they continue being around the vessel. As you can see, the sail is still up, so maybe the boat was presenting some kind of resistance still. And with other type of boats, apart from the sailing boats, the most common behavior of the animals were just pushing the boat with a snoot, as you can see here. And as normally in this case, the rudder is integrated with the propeller and they are not so accessible for the animals. But anyhow, we have also have a fishing boat with a broken rudder already reported, and this kind of boats are being targeted by the killer whales more often lately. This is another sample of a rift where the animals only touch the floater, as you can see there. And so far we could identify two interacting groups. In this one in particular, the active animals are juveniles, while the adults stay away from the boat. Here they stop interacting and the group reunited, as you can see there with the adults. While in the other group, it is mostly young individuals, the active ones, and but there is at least one adult animal that you can see here. That is actually the mother of the other one that you see previously. So as a summary of the interaction, what has normally been observed was that the animals approach from the stern of the boat. They started by observing the boat, checking the moving parts of the stern. Sometimes they were even turned upside down with their belly button up. And then they started touching the boat, pushing the boat forward and even pivoting it, and mainly concentrated to the stern of the boat. In other words, taking control of the movement of the boat. And normally the interaction finishes when they break some component of the moving parts of the boat, mainly the rudders, which tend to be the most vulnerable part of the boat at the end. or the boat was stopped and they lose interest and left the boat alone. And to give you a better perspective of the spatially and time-wise of the interactions, the first interaction occurred in last July in the Strait of Gibraltar. In August, more interactions were registered, and there was a movement of identified interacting groups, first to Portugal, all along their coast until northern Spain, Galicia. In September, all interaction were concentrated in the northern Iberian Peninsula, with some movement back and forward of the groups. Then in October, there was some spreading of the interaction from the north of Spain back to Portugal again. And in November, we registered the last interactions of 2020, and we thought that the nightmare was over, but we were really wrong. At the end of January this year, we registered an interaction in the Moroccan waters. And since then, we have one interaction in southern Portugal, with animal that later moved to the strait, and also an interaction in Galicia. And finally, this month so far, there have been no interactions, but sadly, we have to report the death of an individual in Ceuta, northern Africa, in the Strait of Gibraltar, a young male which body could not be retrieved or identified, so we cannot directly relate it with these interactions. These are the numbers that we were able to gather, but we do still believe there are more cases that we don't know about. In summary, there has been 72 interactions, which in average were 20 minutes long. This killer was mostly targeted to sailing boats, especially monohulls, which were the ones that received most of the damage. Also, they have also had interaction with fishing boats, rigs, and motorboats. One of the good things that we are getting out of this situation is that we are creating a network of collaboration among entities, and also we are better picturing the movement of this subpopulation, although there could be some kind of bias also, because we don't know if this is their normal movement pattern along the year, or it is somehow kind of affected by this new behavior. We are still trying to find the best direct actions that could be taken to control the situation. So far, what was implemented was the radio alert of the presence of the interacting killer whales in different areas of Spain and Portugal. And at the same time, it was suggested to stay away from the animals. And for a while after the concentration of interaction in the northern Spain, the navigation of small sailing boats, less than 50 meters, that were the ones that were mostly targeted by the animals at the time, was banned in the area. And now we are going to present you the action plan that has been distributed to the main stakeholders and administration as actions to be advised to follow by the crew when the animals are already interacting with the boat. So the first thing that we are suggesting now is to stop the boat and to take it out the sails in case it's a sailing boat, and leave the way they will lose if the conditions and the location that they are allows it. Contact the authorities and leave the wheel loose and stay away from any parts that could move or fall sharply. Do not yell to the animals, do not try to touch them or throw anything to the water, and also let yourself not be seen so much overboard. And if they have any cameras, we also advise them to record the animals so we can later identify them and study their behavior. And after a while that they don't feel any pressure on the rudder, check it if it still works. If it doesn't and they cannot navigate, they should request at all. And also take some basic information that will help us later in the investigation. So as take-home message, killer whales of the Strait of Gibraltar are an endangered population, which was already in need of a proper monitoring and implementation of the action contemplated in its conservation plan to improve their situation, which for those who assisted to Greg Donovan and Randall Reeves' presentation yesterday know that these steps are crucial. And since last year, this subpopulation has been showing a disruptive behavior with what's interaction with boats, mainly with sailing boats, touching the mobile parts of the stern and even breaking rudders. However, they have started targeting other type of boats, and especially, which is more worrying, is that they are now targeting fishing vessels. A series of actions have been already been implemented to mitigate this potentially dangerous situation. However, we need to respond even faster and adapt because they are constantly changing places and their behavior has been evolving. A lot of people have been asking about the origin of this behavior and why the whales are doing this. The answer is we don't know. There has been a lot of hypotheses, but none of them was based in a clear evidence. At the moment, we are focusing our effort into minimizing the damage to the animals, the people, and their boats. And as it was mentioned yesterday again by both Greg and Randall, we manage humans' actions, no stations. So if any one of you has had a similar experience or a reasonable recommendation that we can follow, please write to us in this email. Also, if you know about any interaction of sighting of killer whales around the Iberian Peninsula, please contact us. It will be really helpful. And here I'm gonna leave you the list of reference in order of appearance in the presentation. That I know you don't have time, but as the presentation is being recorded, you can stop the video if you need it, and also you can write to me and I will be happy to help you. And that's it. I would like to thank everyone that contributed somehow to this study. This is coming from a team effort, and thank you so much for assisting and for your attention at the end. And I leave you here our email in case you want to contact us. And also, I think we have time for some questions now.
Thank you so much, Ruth. That was extremely interesting and very, very strange. I don't think I've heard about it in any other place, but your presentation will be available on YouTube after the whole week of seminars. Then we'll put all the presentations up so there people can see your references and your email if they have something input. But we have quite some questions now. So the first one is from Guillem Marcellet-Puig. Are there other interactions reported in other killer whale populations? Any idea of the reason for this interaction?
Well, there has been some interaction in some places, but normally it has been something sporadic. Not like it's happening now, that the same group of animals is repeating the behavior over and over again. Sometimes also it has already been reported that the killer whale has sunk a vessel. But yeah, this is kind of the new thing, no? That the same population is doing over and over again. So everybody that I've been talking to is puzzled. We don't know what is going on, and as I say, we are concentrating and try to find the ways to mitigate this situation, because at the moment it's kind of out of our control, and we cannot know why are they doing this at the moment.
All right, next question from Whale and Dolphin Conservation Society. I understand that most interactions are conducted by juveniles and adolescent animals, and they're asking if that's correct, but could the behavior thus be explained as a form of play rather than aggression?
That's the thing. At the beginning, the animals that we were identifying were mainly juveniles, but we review all the videos, and that's been also challenging because not all the videos are of really high quality. So to identify all the animals, it took me a lot of time, and I do believe that there is an animal that I haven't identified also. But we have also seen that there is at least one adult that is also interacting with the boat. Maybe it's not the more active one, but it's there, and we have seen him with his calf also. So we don't know if it could be only by a play thing at the moment.
Mm. All right, next question from Kevin Robinson. I first contacted yourself and Philippe Verbeau in July 2020 after receiving the first report of a boat attack from Alan Glover and crew on their Beneteau First 40 sailing yacht, which you initially thought could have been triggered by a collision with one of the animals. From your talk, I assume that you know that you now think that it is now not the case. So are you thinking the aggression may be linked to tuna fishing instead?
I need to say that we don't know. The thing is, at the beginning there was an animal, especially one animal with an injury in the head, that fortunately it has been recovered really well. We've been following the wound, and it's really good. But yeah, and the rest of the animals, we went back and we checked that well, maybe it's not a normal thing, but it's kind of happening in this subpopulation for a while. That as they interact with the fishing vessel, with the lines, they normally have this kind of wound that you can see the lines all around the body, and this is kind of normal for them. It's not, it shouldn't be like that, but it's kind of happening in this population. So we cannot only blame to this kind of things, and I think we don't have clear evidence to say it was because of they collide with a boat. Also, we don't know if it's the other way around. It is they are having these wounds now because they are interacting with the sailing vessels. I don't know if you noticed in some of the pictures that I saw from the rudders. Sometimes in the rudders they have metal parts that are really, really sharp, and they can get injured only with that. So, and well, it's really difficult to know which is first also. And with a proper monitoring of the subpopulation, there is nothing else we can do at the end. Mm-hmm. I'm here, I'm in Madeira, I'm not even there. And I'm kind of taking care of that with a lot of people, but we are doing our best, but we cannot do it all at the end.
All right, there's a question, you may have answered it, but it's from Amy Mario. Have you seen any ship strikes with killer whales since there are more interactions now, and since shipping is also very abundant in the Strait of Gibraltar with large cargo ships?
Not that I know. Not that I know. So far, we haven't any. There has not been many stranding animals so far from this subpopulation, and the one that arrived, sadly, we don't have been able to either recover the animal or do a proper necropsy of the animal, so we cannot find the proper case of the death. No, in this case, and there is no animal with a really open wound that we call at the moment related with a strike of a cargo vessel.
Okay, thanks. And we have a question from Claudia Oladell. Thanks for this talk and the job you're doing behind Ruth. Have you got any acoustic recordings during one of the interactions? perhaps this could give you a clue on which behavior could be related to these attacks.
Thank you, Claudia. Well, now we don't have. The thing is, we are receiving all these videos from the crew. So it's normally people with their phones. So we don't have at the moment any GoPro videos or nothing. So we are not there. And as they are moving a lot, also, I think it's not the time now to plan a survey or whatever, because they are going to move around, and we cannot plan this at the moment. So we don't have it. But yeah, it will be nice to have this kind of information.
All right, thanks. Another question from Danny. Do you know whether whales normally move into these regions in previous years?
Yeah, we knew about it, but yeah, it was kind of more not so intense. We knew that they went north of Spain, but we had one sighting every 2-3 years. We could confirm that there were the same individuals. This year, I guess also because we are putting a lot of effort to follow the people and to get the information and so on. Maybe we are getting more information about it, and also because the animals are more active and their behavior is kind of more apparent, like the people know about it. Maybe we are getting more information now. Yeah.
Thank you. And one question from Anna Marcello. Hi Ruth, great talk, an overview of the behavior of orcas. How is the action plan going to be delivered to the marine community? Any plans to involve the authorities along Iberia so they can alert sailors and fishermen?
Yeah, so we are, so far we have contacted the Coast Guard in Spain, but our next step will be to properly set a meeting also in Portugal and to supply this action plan. Also, we are applying to get some projects also to do this, to have a better support and to be able to have a better response to all of this.
Thank you. A question from Fiona McNee. I was wondering if you have looked into what sounds the boats are making. Do they have GPS or other tools creating sounds that could be disturbing?
So we tried to also get this type of information, and we couldn't find a proper relation. Some of the boats have their not the GPS, the sonar. It's not sonar. Sorry, I don't find the word now. But yeah, some of the boats have some electric equipment on, and some they don't even have it in the boat. So it looks like it's not related at the moment.
Right. Thank you. Another question here from Gemma Russo. I think you mentioned that the killer whales have a positive response from fisher interaction, both with easier prey catch and increased survival. Has there been a marked decrease in fishing activities during the pandemic? Although they are not predominantly targeting fishing boats, perhaps change in fishing or activities in the biggest significant difference seen in the region, and that drives some sort of response.
So we've been talking with fishermen, and we've been also been talking with experts in tunas to ask them if they have the feeling that something is changing or something is going on. So far, with the general feeling that we get back, it was that they say there is more tuna, but the tuna is smaller. So maybe this is kind of also affecting the killer whales, but we cannot have the good relation now. we will need to study that at the end, if this type of tunas they are able to capture them or not, or if the fishermen continue fishing these tunas even, and the killer whales are also there chasing their captures. But yeah, we will need to continue looking for that.
Thank you. And a question from Cell. Thank you very much. It's been really interesting. The question is if you have found any similarities or common factors between the different kind of boats, like motor materials they are built of, or things like that.
Yeah, that's a good question. But so far, it looks like at the beginning it was only sailing vessels, but they are changing. It looks like they are looking for new rudders or new things because they are changing a lot, and they are targeting now almost every kind of boat. They are not going for big cargos, but they are targeting a lot of type of different boats with different configuration and characteristics and materials and different rudders and different motors. And so yeah, they are going for a lot of things at the moment.
And a question from Tallulah Sardine. Have you observed lesions on the orcas as a result of these interactions, apart from the observed death of one of them? What kind of lesions, if this is the case?
Yeah, well, I mentioned it before. We had one of the killer whales that we know is interacting had an open wound in the melon in the head. That as we were following it with the interaction, we could see that it was closing really well. So it was recovering.
All right. Time is running, so we can take two more questions. The first one is from Gemma Veneruso. When working in the Faroe Islands, we had historical anecdotal reports during questionnaires from fishers that killer whales were bumping into boats and chasing boats. The fishers call them the devil fish. Perhaps contacting scientists in the Faroe Islands would help you in knowing more about this.
Okay, thank you. I will try to contact people there because yeah, that's really interesting. We are looking for that. We send a Marman email also trying to find people with some kind of similar behavior around the world. So yeah, that will be really helpful. Thank you, Hannah.
All right, the last question from Whale and Dolphin Conservation Society. Has the idea been explored to develop a mobile app to report incidents and thus alert others so to know where the location of the problem is?
Actually, this is one of the ideas and the actions that are under the project that we have just submitted 2 days ago. So yeah, this is kind of the plan because yeah, sometimes people have this kind of mobile phones and it will be really easy for them to report it, the interaction. Yeah, so yeah, it's been the think about. We are waiting for the resources.
Yeah. Well, there's several more questions, and I encourage those people to put the questions to you and maybe discuss further on this really interesting matter. But thank you so much, Ruth. I'm sorry we can't applaud, but I'm sure we will all do that. We've been around 350 people watching you, and thank you so much.
Thanks to you to give me this opportunity to show to everybody this strange behavior. Yeah, thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
And to everybody, we will have the last day of the webinar tomorrow at 15 European Central Time. So hope to see you then. Thanks a lot, and have a good day.